Ever feel like tech is changing faster than we can keep up with?
It can feel that way sometimes, yeah.
Well, today we're diving deep into something that's right at the cutting edge of cybersecurity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Zero-day exploits. Ever heard of them?
Definitely. They're a major concern in the security world.
For good reason. It's like discovering that your front door lock has been faulty all along and someone's had a key this whole time.
That's a great analogy. What's unsettling about zero-day vulnerabilities is that nobody knows about them.
No doubt.
Not the software developers, not security researchers, nobody. It's like a hidden weakness just waiting to be exploited.
Okay, so before we get too deep into this, can you give us the quick breakdown of why these exploits are so dangerous?
Sure, the danger lies in the unknown. Think of a hacker finding a secret passage into a fortress. That's essentially what a zero-day exploit does.
So they're exploiting a weakness that nobody even knows about.
Exactly. It gives attackers a massive advantage.
And I imagine it becomes a race against time. Attackers are trying to exploit this before anyone can patch it up.
Precisely. The longer a zero-day vulnerability remains undiscovered, the greater the risk.
Are there any real-world examples of this that really highlight the potential damage these exploits can cause?
Think back to the Morris worm in 1988. That was a major wake-up call.
What happened?
It exploited a vulnerability in Unix systems and spread rapidly across the internet. Widespread disruption, and really highlighted the damage a zero-day exploit could cause.
So these vulnerabilities, where do they come from in the first place? Is it always a case of, someone messing up the code?
Not necessarily, although coding errors are a common cause. But vulnerabilities can also stem from misconfigurations in hardware or even firmware.
Firmware?
Yep, the permanent software embedded in our devices.
So this isn't just a software issue, it's kind of a systemic issue.
Absolutely. And that's what makes them so challenging to address.
You mentioned earlier that the longer a vulnerability goes undiscovered, the greater the risk. Can you walk us through the typical life cycle of a zero-day exploit? How do these things actually play out?
Okay, so it typically starts with discovery, where someone stumbles upon this hidden flaw.
And that someone could be anyone?
Right, it could be a security researcher, a hacker, sometimes even by accident.
Then what?
Then comes the weaponization phase. This is where someone figures out how to actually exploit that vulnerability.
So creating the tools to take advantage of the weakness.
Exactly. It involves creating code specifically designed to target that weakness.
And this could be done by?
Well, it could be a security researcher trying to responsibly disclose the vulnerability, or it could be a cybercriminal looking to cause harm.
So the motives can vary quite a bit.
Very much so. And once that exploit is created, it enters the exploitation phase. This is where things get real.
Meaning?
The MBacker delivers the exploit, maybe through a phishing email, a malicious website, or even a compromised software update.
And the consequences, as we saw with the Morris worm, can be dire. Okay, so we've got these exploits out in the wild. How do these attacks actually play out? What are the common tactics?
Attackers use what we call attack vectors. They're essentially the paths they use to deliver that exploit.
Give us some examples.
One common tactic is social engineering.
I've heard that term before, but...
It's where they manipulate people into clicking on malicious links or opening infected attachments.
Like those "you want a free cruise"
Yeah.
emails that are so obviously fake.
Exactly. They prey on human psychology. Another vector is unpatched software.
So those remind me later buttons we all live to hit are actually putting us at risk.
Unfortunately, yes. Software updates often include patches for newly discovered vulnerabilities. Delaying those updates is like playing Russian roulette with your data.
That's a scary thought.
And then there are watering hole attacks.
Watering hole, like animals going to a lake.
Kind of. It's where attackers target websites frequently visited by a specific group, like, say, employees of a company. They compromise the site, inject malicious code, and wait for unsuspecting victims to wander in.
So it's like poisoning a water source that those animals will come to.
Right. It's pretty devious.
So we've got these attack vectors. What about the exploits themselves? Are there different types?
Absolutely. Some exploit memory corruption vulnerabilities, others target the core of the operating system, and still others focus on web applications.
Is that what makes them so hard to detect?
The complexity and the variety, definitely. They can be incredibly difficult to spot.
Okay, this is all starting to sound a bit overwhelming. If these exploits are unknown, how could we even begin to defend against them? It feels like trying to catch a ghost.
You're right, it's a massive challenge. Traditional security measures like antivirus software often rely on known signatures or patterns of malicious code. With zero-day exploits, there's no prior knowledge to work with. It's like trying to fight an invisible enemy.
So what can we actually do about this? It can't all be doom and gloom, right?
Of course not. While challenging, there are some effective steps we can take. We need to shift our mindset from being reactive to being proactive. And a layered security approach is absolutely crucial.
Okay, so what does that look like? What's the first line of defense?
Patching, patching, patching. I know it sounds simple, but regularly updating your software and systems is one of the most effective ways to protect yourself.
So all those update available notifications, don't ignore them.
Exactly. Software vendors are constantly working to identify and fix vulnerabilities, and those patches are often included in those updates.
So stop procrastinating and install those updates. But you mentioned that traditional antivirus software might not be enough. What else can we do?
That's where the layered security approach comes in. Think of it like building a fortress, multiple walls and defenses. We at Stonefly offer some really advanced endpoint security solutions.
Okay, tell me more.
They go beyond basic antivirus. We use techniques like behavioral analysis to detect and block suspicious activity, even if it doesn't match any known threats. For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
So it's about having multiple layers of protection to create a more robust defense. That makes sense. But layered security doesn't just stop at software, right?
Absolutely not. Network infrastructure is just as important. Implementing intrusion detection and prevention systems can really help identify and block suspicious network traffic.
Anything else?
Network segmentation is another good one. It can really limit the damage by isolating different parts of your network.
So if one part gets compromised, the whole thing doesn't collapse.
Exactly. It's all about containment and damage control. Another crucial aspect is data protection.
Oh yeah, backups.
You got it. In the event of a successful attack, having those backups can be a lifesaver. And this is another area where Stonefly really excels. Our DR365V Veeam-ready backup and DR appliance provides a really comprehensive solution.
So even if your systems are compromised, you can recover quickly.
Exactly. You can restore your critical data, minimize downtime, the whole 9 yards. For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
It sounds like having an insurance policy for your data. You hope you never need it, but you're sure glad you have it when you do.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technology, it's about people too. Employees are often the weakest link, and attackers definitely know this.
That brings us back to the social engineering you mentioned earlier.
Right. Educating your employees about the latest threats, teaching them how to recognize phishing emails, suspicious links, all those red flags is so crucial.
So it's about fostering a culture of security awareness, making sure everyone understands their role in protecting the organization's data.
It's a team effort, just like everything else in a company.
Now let's delve into the world of those on the front lines, the security researchers. How do they even go about discovering these zero-day vulnerabilities in the first place? It's like finding a needle in a haystack, right?
Oh, it's incredibly challenging. One technique they use is something called honeypots.
Honeypots, like those things that attract bees.
Not quite, though the concept is kind of similar. In cybersecurity, a honeypot is a decoy system specifically designed to lure in attackers.
It's like setting a trap.
Exactly. By observing how attackers interact with these honeypots, researchers can gain valuable insights into their techniques and what they're targeting.
That's fascinating. Like a digital game of cat and mouse. What other tools do security professionals use?
Threat intelligence feeds are a big one. They provide valuable info about emerging threats and vulnerabilities.
So they can see what's on the horizon and prepare.
Right. Then there's sandboxing, which allows us to test suspicious files and URLs in a safe, isolated environment.
Like a quarantine zone.
Perfect analogy. And then, of course, there's vulnerability scanning. This helps identify weaknesses in your own systems before the attackers can find them.
So it's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. It's about having a comprehensive approach, one that addresses technology, people, and processes.
And how does Stonefly fit into all of this?
We are really committed to empowering organizations to take control of their security. Our unified storage and server USS hyper-converged infrastructure is a great example. It offers a really robust platform with built-in security features.
Features.
Things like data encryption, access control, and intrusion detection, all working together to help protect your data.
Sounds impressive.
For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
It sounds like you guys at Stonefly are really focused on giving businesses those tools they need.
We are, absolutely.
But you also mentioned something earlier that I wanted to circle back to. Memory forensics. What exactly is that?
Oh, it's really fascinating. Imagine being able to analyze the memory of a system that's been compromised.
To see what happened.
Yeah, to find those traces of the attack.
Even if the attacker tried to cover their tracks.
Exactly. Even then, it's like a digital detective, examining a crime scene, but looking for that microscopic evidence.
And then there's reverse engineering, right? Isn't that super complex?
It can be, yeah. It involves dissecting that malicious code, really understanding how it works and the vulnerability it's exploiting. It's like taking apart a clock to figure out how each gear and spring makes it tick.
So it's not just about stopping the attack in progress, but also understanding how it happened to prevent future ones, right?
Absolutely. The more we know about how attackers work, the better we can defend against them.
All of this really highlights the importance of having skilled security professionals on our side. It sounds like they need to be part detective, part code breaker, maybe even a little bit of digital archaeologist thrown in there.
Huh. You could say that. It's a demanding field, but it's so rewarding.
Speaking of rewarding, let's talk about something we haven't really touched on yet. The potential benefits of preventing zero-day exploits.
Oh, that's a great point. We often focus on the negative, right?
Yeah, all the bad things that can happen. But what about the flip side? What are some of those positive outcomes?
Well, think about the cost savings alone. Data breaches, they can cost companies millions. Lost revenue, fines, legal fees, the whole works. Preventing a zero-day exploit can save a company from a real financial disaster.
That's huge. What about reputation? I imagine that takes a hit as well.
Oh, absolutely. A data breach can shatter a company's reputation. Customers lose trust, and it can take years to rebuild that. Preventing a zero-day exploit, that helps preserve that hard-earned reputation.
It's like avoiding a PR nightmare. Are there any other benefits we should consider?
Definitely. Preventing zero-day exploits can actually foster innovation. When companies feel secure, they're more likely to invest in new technology, try new things. It creates a space for them to really push the boundaries.
That's a great point. It's not just about protecting what you have, it's about enabling growth in the future.
Exactly. Security is an enabler, not a roadblock.
So the stakes are high, but the potential rewards are huge. But let's be realistic here. Preventing every single zero-day exploit is probably impossible, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's a constant battle. But that doesn't mean we should just give up. Every successful prevention, that's a win. And it's not just about the tech. Human behavior plays a huge role in this whole thing.
There's that human element again. Can you give our listeners some specific things to be aware of?
Absolutely. Phishing is a classic example. Emails that look like they're from a legitimate source.
Like your bank or a coworker.
Right. But they're designed to trick you, to get you to click a bad link or open an infected attachment.
So those you won the lottery.
Ah.
Or your account has been compromised emails.
Those are the ones they prey on your emotions, fear, greed, excitement, to get you to act without thinking.
So what's the best way to protect yourself from these kinds of attacks?
Be skeptical. Any unsolicited emails, especially those asking you to click links or provide personal info, be wary. If you're unsure, don't hesitate to contact your IT department.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just emails. Social media can be a breeding ground for these kinds of attacks, too.
So just be cautious about clicking links and downloading files from sources you don't know.
Exactly. And if someone contacts you out of the blue asking for money or personal info, red flag.
It all boils down to common sense.
A lot of it does, yeah. And if you see something suspicious, report it. Your IT department would rather investigate a false alarm than a successful attack, believe me.
That's a good point. We've talked a lot about threats and risks today, but I want to end on a positive note. What are some things that excite you about the future of cybersecurity?
Oh, there's a lot to be excited about. The growing use of AI is huge. It can automate so many tasks that humans do now.
Like what?
Threat detection, incident response. Think of it as our ally in this fight. AI can analyze so much data, spot patterns we might miss, and respond way faster.
It's like having a superpowered security guard. Anything else you're seeing that's promising?
Definitely. The increased focus on collaboration, on sharing info, organizations are realizing we can't fight this alone.
We need to work together.
Exactly. Share information about threats, vulnerabilities, best practices, all of it. We can create a much stronger, more resilient cybersecurity ecosystem.
Strength in numbers. Well, it's been incredible talking to you today. It really is amazing how crucial that human element is in all of this. Attackers exploiting our psychology, researchers racing to stay ahead of the game. It's like this constant chess match. But speaking of staying ahead, What's one piece of advice you would give to our listeners, whether they're individuals or businesses, to help them navigate this complex world?
Stay informed. The threat landscape changes constantly, so keep up with those latest threats, the new vulnerabilities, read industry publications, follow security experts, attend conferences. The more you know, the better prepared you'll be.
Excellent advice. And speaking of staying informed, I want to remind our listeners that we have a ton of resources available on our website at Stonefly. White papers, case studies, webinars, all sorts of things. We also have a team of experts ready to answer your questions and help you create a security solution that really fits your needs. You can reach us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website at www.stonefly.com for more info.
I've really enjoyed being here today. It's been great.
The pleasure was all ours.
Hi.
Now, before we wrap up, I have one final thought for our listeners. What if there was a way to predict zero-day exploits, before they even happen?
Yeah.
What impact would that have on cybersecurity? Something to think about. But for now, we'll leave you with that. Stay vigilant out there. It really makes you think about, the possibilities and the challenges ahead. But for now, let's bring it back down to earth a little. We've talked a lot about individual users, but what about businesses? What are some concrete steps they could take to protect themselves from these zero-day exploits?
Well, a lot of the things we've already talked about apply to businesses as well. Patching diligently, having that layered security, robust backups, and a good incident response plan.
Those are all must-haves.
Exactly. Those are the foundations. But businesses also need to be more proactive, invest in threat intelligence, do regular vulnerability assessments, and really focus on security awareness training for their employees.
So it's not just about reacting to threats as they pop up, but actually trying to get ahead of them.
Absolutely, 100%. Cybersecurity can't be an afterthought. It needs to be baked into the DNA of the organization.
From the top down.
Exactly.
You've also been a big advocate for data backup and disaster recovery. Can you talk a little bit more about why that's so important, especially when it comes to these zero-day exploits?
Zero-day exploits can lead to data loss and downtime, which can be devastating for any business. Imagine losing access to all your customer data, your financial records, even your operational systems.
It would bring everything to a screeching halt.
Exactly. That's why having a reliable backup and disaster recovery solution is so crucial. You need to be prepared for the worst-case scenario.
So it's not just about preventing the attack, but also about minimizing the damage if one does happen.
Exactly. It's about resilience. And that's where, our Stonefly DR365V Veeam-ready backup and DR appliance is so valuable. It offers that complete solution. Make sure that even if your systems are compromised, you can bounce back quickly, restore your critical data, minimize that downtime, all of that. For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
It's like having a safety net for your entire business. I can imagine that peace of mind is really important. Let's talk specifically about Stonefly's role in helping businesses tackle these challenges. How do your solutions actually address these zero-day exploit concerns?
Well, we offer a whole range of solutions, all designed to empower businesses. Our unified storage and server, USS hyperconverged infrastructure, is a great example. It's this really powerful and flexible platform, and it consolidates your IT infrastructure while strengthening your security at the same time.
All in one.
Yep. And it has all these built-in security features like data encryption, access control, intrusion detection, all working together to protect you from those sophisticated threats. For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
It sounds like it really simplifies things for businesses. What are some of the biggest benefits they see?
Simplicity is key, right? We know that businesses need solutions that are secure and easy to use. Our solutions don't require a whole team of IT experts to set up or manage, so they're accessible to businesses of all sizes.
Even those who might not have dedicated IT departments. That's great. We've covered a lot of ground today. But even with the best technology in place, we keep coming back to that human factor. What final words of wisdom would you offer our listeners, both individuals and businesses, as they navigate this ever-changing landscape?
Stay vigilant, stay informed. This threat landscape is constantly shifting, so you've got to keep up. Don't get complacent, learn about cybersecurity best practices, and don't be afraid to ask for help. There are so many resources out there.
Including your team at Stonefly.
Of course. We're here to help businesses of all sizes, strengthen their security and protect their data. For further information about our appliances, contact us at sales@stonefly.com or visit our website, www.stonefly.com.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been a really eye-opening conversation, and I think it's something that impacts all of us in this digital age.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive into zero-day exploits has given you the knowledge and tools you need to navigate this world. Remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. By working together, staying informed, and being proactive, we can make the digital world a safer place for everyone. Until next time, stay vigilant and stay curious.